Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. I want to continue to talk about the Mollie Tibbetts case, the missing Iowa student, jogger, went missing on July 18th. It's now exactly 1 month, uh, August 18th. And I only want to talk about one thing. I'm probably going to be pretty quick, which is the pinned tweet on the top of her Twitter feed. Which is very eerie because it basically is a screen grab from her phone where she's chatting, I believe, with her boyfriend Dalton Jack about an incident where she was in the library just another Tuesday night. In fact, she says that where she's in the library, I believe at Iowa University. November 13th would have been the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving, so she would have been up at school, I'm pretty sure, studying for literature or lit. And a police officer approaches her and says, "Is that your pink coat on the chair there?" And he explains that he had got a call, about she might be the missing persons who was missing recently. Okay, it says, "I was sitting in the library doing my lit homework when a cop walked up to me. He asked me if that was my pink coat on the chair, and I said, yeah. He asked me if I got off a bus early, and I said, yeah. He then told me there was a report of a 10-year-old child wearing a pink coat and hat. Somebody called me in because they thought I was a missing child." Okay. Obviously, under the circumstances, that's extremely, just a very, very, very strange coincidence that this is the pinned tweet of her Twitter feed, being that she has gone missing, and many believe that she was abducted or, taken against her will at this stage, and that it wasn't just an accident. So, a number of things, and that could be. I had somebody brought this to my attention fairly early on and was mentioning it and said, well, maybe that was a plainclothes cop, or there's been other people that have. There's been a lot of comments recently about this, but somebody else brought it to my attention earlier. And when at the time I was like, wow, I never thought of that, and I saw this, but I pretty much didn't even. I saw it. It seemed very, very strange, but other than that, I moved on and didn't pay it much mind. I'm definitely thinking a lot more about this now. And I don't know why, how certain things, they're staring you right in the face, and yet you still don't necessarily um, see it. Okay, a couple things. Well, one thing is, a lot of people are saying it could be a law enforcement person, that abducted um, Mollie, and I'm not necessarily saying that, but that's being suggested, and based on a couple things, it's one, they would know law enforcement, they would understand how the searches are conducted and how to avoid it and what to do to avoid being detected. Plus, if she was approached by somebody in a law, as a law enforcement officer, she would trust that person and go with them willingly, or at least be approached without fear at first, and so forth. So much like she was in this instance. And another theory was that this person was either a plainclothes officer or maybe posing as an officer and really wasn't an officer to begin with. And I'm all over the place. So, but that's just going to have to be for now because I really got to roll. But one thing I did look up is I looked up missing persons, for around that time. This doesn't necessarily, there are certain criteria that have to be met. Every missing persons that, starts out as a missing person doesn't necessarily, an Amber Alert doesn't necessarily go out, okay? There are very strict criteria that if they're not met, they cannot issue an Amber Alert. So whatever person she was approached about, there may or may not have been an Amber Alert, okay? So, but there was no Amber Alert for that person. There's somebody in November 20th, and actually this is after November 14th, but it's in Denison, Iowa, which is clearly on the other side of the state. I don't have the map up, but Iowa City is more sort of on the eastern side of the state, and Denison, Iowa, is more on the western side of the state, if I remember correctly. So. What that basically this report in November of 2017, November 20th, couldn't have been the person that they were, searching for. But again, there could have been some other missing person, that wasn't necessarily, because here's Des Moines, here's Iowa City. That's where Iowa University is. Brooklyn is in between these two. It's right near Highway 80, which many people have said is a corridor for, for trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking that runs the length of the country, or at least through Ohio and so forth. So, I would have had to have think that law enforcement has looked into this. That's the other thing. And I'm almost certain that they had to have checked into this. And one, to see if it was actually a law enforcement person that approached her, and I'm assuming it was, but if it wasn't, there would be surveillance in that library of that date of November 14th. At that time, it's exactly when it's pinned, 7. Jeez. That's the picture. 7:13 p.m. And they would have seen who entered there and stuff like that, who entered the library. I mean, usually, I think a library at a university as big as Iowa University would have all that stuff. But I don't know that for certain. So, but the other odd thing is that if it wasn't an Amber Alert, and if a missing 10-year-old in a pink coat and hat, who called it in? I mean, who would have known that there was a missing person for somebody, a 10-year-old with a pink coat? If it wasn't a nationwide or a statewide Amber Alert that showed up on somebody's phone, how would they have known to call that in and seen her and thought maybe that she was the missing girl? That is peculiar, and I don't have an explanation for that. Okay, so I really haven't established this very good, but I'm going to have to keep going. Basically, there could be a couple things going on here, I think. The other odd thing is, and it's extremely odd, is that, there's only 4 replies about this tweet, and 2 of them are from Mollie, or no, 1 is from Mollie, and 2 are from her friend. On that day, on the same day that the tweet took place, November 14th, 2017, and then beyond that, there's no other replies until she went missing. Okay. Now, I mean, if that was the pinned tweet, I don't know. I would have thought there'd be more replies in between the day that it was sent and the time she went missing, and that it wouldn't have just been the 3, the 2 from her friend, 1 from herself, and then it stopped. If it was a pinned tweet, and basically, and then after that, the only other replies are all from people, just people interested in her and hoping she returns safely, and saying that she's in their prayers and so forth, and some people saying, has anybody looked into this cop? I mean, but lots of people, not lots, but some people have said that too. So my point is that to me, it very much looks like this tweet was pinned by her abductor. And that's what it looks like to me. I'm not trying to make this into some dramatic thing, but that's how it appears to me. A tweet that would have been pinned, I would have thought would have had more replies just beyond just the 3 that are there the day that she did the tweet, just because it would have always been at the top of her feed. So what does that mean? Like, and let me just put forth a couple of theories quickly based on that. So my assumption is that this was not this person. Initially, I thought it was very, very strange. And I mean, my assumption is that this was real, that she was approached by a police officer, that somebody did call it in, somebody for some reason had knowledge of it, and just somebody in the area knew of it and called it in. She fit the description, the pink coat and so forth, and that it really did happen. So basically, I mean, it's one of 2 things. I almost got to think through this. Let me stop. Let me to present my theories clearly. Let me try to do this. Let me say first, it's really one of 2 things, maybe a third, and it actually, or none of these. It's probably none of these, to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to make this dramatic. I already said that, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. I'm really not. And and there's been moments where I was like, wow, it's scary. It's all scary, man, you know. And you know what? I will say this. I really will. If the person who abducted her actually pinned this, and I kind of think that. I really do. That leads me to believe she's still alive. And I have no way of knowing that, and I'm not trying to give anybody false hope or anything, but I kind of think that. I kind of think she maybe is still alive, you know, and I think that somebody who abducted her pinned this, you know, and maybe there can be a decent resolution to this somehow, you know. It could be that, you know, this incident, it did happen, but whoever did it was posing as a cop and really wasn't a cop, and you know, and then later did abduct her, and you know, and then pin this, and they're just, you know, they're almost toying with law enforcement. And if that was the case, that would be somebody who, you know, entered the building knowing where surveillance cameras are, going in a way where their identity couldn't be seen, or something like that, and they're just toying with law enforcement this way, like some kind of truly twisted, you know, person, like a Zodiac kind of thing. And I don't think that's the case. I don't. What I do think, or it could be just somebody who's been interested in Mollie, you know, up at school or around school, and has been following her, either following on social media. This could have been just in her social media, maybe knew of her, you know, maybe, you know, I don't know exactly how he would have been connected to the school. There's lots of different people that interact with the school, even if they don't go there, you know, plenty. And there's a number of different ways that can happen. You know, people that work there, that do work on the grounds there, that, you know, use the facilities there, the track, and so forth. Anything. There's tons of stuff. But he might have seen this, you know, and then you know, just abducted her after the fact, and then put this up there to divert law enforcement, to distract and make it look like, you know, this the first, you know, that this person had something to do with Mollie going missing. I know none of these are that great of theories, but it's extremely odd. What are the odds when you come right down, when you really settle down and think about it? What are the odds of this tweet being the tweet that's pinned on her Twitter account and she goes missing? It's so unusual. It's so strange. It's almost impossible. It is possible, but it's very, very odd. So, and the other, the third possibility, it's the combination of those two, where whoever it was that's stalking her or was stalking her is interested in her, you know, and did come into that library looking like, you know, in some kind of uniform, law enforcement uniform, or had some kind of badge and was like in street clothes, whatever, and approached her and gave her the story about a missing kid and that was called in and so forth. And still went on and you know, but knew where cameras were and whatever. It's just some regular guy who is interested in Mollie and whatever, and you know, wanted her to be his partner. You know, wanted her. You know, in that Radar Online piece, I think it was Radar Online, where they and I know that a lot of people have said that that's celebrity news, and it's, you know, it's just not very reliable, and I'd say that's pretty true. But there was something in there about it being a single person, a recently widowed person, you know, and I don't know. I think that that's really might be the case. This was a very messy video. I'm sorry, but it's a lot, and it's a lot of sort of fairly fantastical ideas, which I'm usually reluctant to put up. But I do think that this is significant, and I don't know why I didn't pay more attention to it before. The people have brought it to my attention in the comments. I thank you very much, you know, and that's the story there. All right, thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Maybe, you know, let's hope Mollie comes home. This actually makes me more think that she's still alive. And right now, I'm inclined to believe that. I really am. Later, man.